Hello students, I understand that most of you are in mixed thoughts with respect to Civil Services Prelims 2026. Many have said that there were questions which were out of syllabus. Many of you have said that the question paper was very random and illogical. Many of the students have also complained that it had a lot of factual base which a human brain cannot remember. Now today, we would look at the real analysis of Civil Services Prelims 2026 when it comes to the GS paper as well as the CSAT paper. The general analysis, how to go about, what are the learnings from this particular question paper, and why are people saying it is difficult. Now, I would like to convey here that the paper was different rather than being difficult. Why I would say this, or the basis of me telling this, is depending and based upon my experience of clearing the prelims examination in some of the toughest papers, that is in 2021 or 2023 or 2025. I have cleared with forest cutoff. On that particular experience, I would like to tell you that 2026 paper was different. Why? Because every year after prelims, the people come out of the exam hall and say that this was the toughest so far. And this word has been heard in 2021, 2023, 2025, and now again in 2026. Now we will also have to understand and analyze what is UPSC actually trying to tell us with respect to giving such a tough paper, giving such a different paper, giving such a random paper, giving such so-called illogical paper. And is there some learning that we will have to keep, or is there some understanding that we will have to qualify prelims examination for next year, is what is the whole video all about. Now coming to the first aspect, that why is 2026 paper different. Now when I say why is this 2026 paper different, it is different with respect to the option pattern that has been chosen, because most of the times you see the logical consistency was tested in the context of the options that were arranged by UPSC. Then apart from that, it is also different in the context of the subject composition. And when we look at the subject composition, unlike previously we used to have polity being dominated, but this year we had seen a less number of questions with respect to polity, that is around 9 questions. But rather the dominance was with respect to AMAC, that is ancient medieval art and culture, or the history component has dominated along with the current affairs, with economy and SNT having its right proportion. So the compositional aspects is going to be one more aspect which makes the exam different. The third aspect why the Civil Services Prelims 2026 was different, that it was lengthy. Now when I say about this exam, most of you might think that this is mostly an AC chamber expertise or AC chamber experience that I'm telling you. But when it comes to my analysis with respect to 2026 prelims, it is very realistic and real time after conversation with a lot of students. In that particular perspective, if you see what could have been a good approach in solving this particular paper. Now, when I say good approach in solving this particular paper, the biggest challenge for me was to handle the length of the paper. Because when you look at the length of the paper, it was over 26 pages when I'm considering only English without the Hindi translation. It was over 9,000 words to be read in the 2 hours, which is making it a big challenge. Now, what is an optimal approach that any candidate should have followed depending upon my experience? I would like to tell you that you should have left those unknown questions, something like the BIMSTEC question, something like the military regiments wala question, or something like the UN peacekeeping question, or something like the visit of the chancellor from the Germany in the January, that particular question. So there were, or the person with disability wala question, there were at least 20 plus questions which could have been left and which could have definitely saved time for us, because it is not a mandate for all of us to attempt a 90 plus questions. That's a very, very wrong notion that has been initiated into the prelims examination, that I should definitely attempt a 90 plus to qualify prelims. Because the simple logic is, when the prelims examination is testing my knowledge base, I will have to attempt more. When the prelims paper is random, when the prelims paper is lengthy, my focus should have been on accuracy. This is the fundamental approach that any of us will have to follow when it comes to the prelims examination. And yesterday's paper was lengthy, yesterday's paper was demanding a width of knowledge, depth of knowledge, variety of knowledge, diversity in knowledge. So in that particular context, I would say you could have saved your time by leaving those questions which you could never answer, irrespective of reading those questions. So what could have been more? The approach should have been selective when it comes to attempting the question. And selective in the context, those which are known and those which could be derived from the known. That could have been a better approach when it comes to this particular examination. And in fact, many people say that eliminations were eliminated in the process. I beg to differ in this particular process, that eliminations were not eliminated in this process. Because if you look at elimination as a trick without understanding the logic, definitely yes, you would feel that they were eliminated. But if you understand the logic behind how is an elimination trick working, what is the logical basis of having that elimination technique, what is the commonsensical approach that we put in with respect to solving a question by using that technique, then you could have seen at least 15 to 20 questions could have been solved using that particular understanding. And I would come up with a particular session on how to solve 2026 paper with logical guessing and logical application of these elimination techniques. They were very much present. Now here, what are the takeaways that we should understand? That unlike or as usual, just like UPSC prelims always tests not my knowledge, but rather it is testing my knowledge application. How am I going to apply my knowledge? Now, because be it in the question of Sagarmala, be it in the question of mangroves question, or be it with respect to the question on National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, or be it with respect to the question of the Pleistocene, that with respect to Yamuna, Sutlej, Indus, or be it with respect to the question of Montagu Chelmsford in the context of 1919, in most of the instances you observe that if it was more of logical approach in the exam hall, and we could only get this logical approach with respect to the calm mind that we are present, we could have solved those questions. We would have solved those questions. And the second understanding here is that UPSC is clearly telling us with respect to the prelims examination, it is not about bothering on this 35 plus random questions, rather it is about the ones which are in the right ambit of my knowledge. And when I say right ambit of my knowledge, it is not direct knowledge. It is the application aspect with respect to the knowledge. It is with respect to the logical consistency. So the UPSC is clearly telling focus on this and be selective with respect to these 35 plus random questions which are existing, because we know the cutoff is between 80 to 90 in the context of previous year examinations. That means if I take even an higher end, it's going to be with respect to I should be getting 45 questions right. Now, when we say the 45 questions to be right, I already have 65 questions which are going to be in my ambit through logical consistency, through basic application of knowledge, be it the question of empty seat of Buddha, or be it with respect to that question on Eka movement and Bardoli Satyagraha, or be it the question with respect to crowding out effect, be it the question with respect to UPI, be it the question with respect to NBFCs. In all of these, be it the sections of green hydrogen, be it the question with respect to black box, be it the question with respect to Sudarshan Chakra. Now, in all of these questions, what is happening is the basic knowledge aspect has been tested. And in that particular dimension, we focusing upon getting or maximizing the attempt with respect to the accuracy basis would have saved our understanding. Now, why am I talking about all of this is the writing on the wall is very clear, my dear. The writing on the wall is very clear here that not only in 2026, be it in 2021, be it in 2023, be it in 2025, be it in 2026, in all of these years, UPSC has clearly stated that prelims examination is not mere rote learning. Prelims examination is not mere knowledge. Prelims examination is not mere compilation of books. Prelims examination is not mere compilation and referring to certain books, certain magazines, certain textbooks, certain test papers. That is never the game. That is why in all of these years, papers appeared difficult because they are different. Papers appeared difficult because all of these were having various application of knowledge. Papers appeared difficult because these fundamentally demanded calm, composure, and character to perform in the exam hall. And when we get to understand these dynamics in the exam, the prelims examination will definitely be doable to a larger extent. The day I start relying on knowledge sources, the day I start relying on textbook sources, the day I start relying on the rote learning perspective, by-hearting perspective, magazine perspective, then the prelims appears difficult, then the prelims appears different. So what is the takeaway when it comes to the examination? The takeaway is very clear. Be clear with basics, cover your basic sources, and more importantly, focus upon the application. That means it is not knowledge alone, but rather it is knowledge plus approach which you should have in the prelims examination. Now, why am I talking about all of this at this juncture? I'm talking about all of this because UPSC had maintained its understanding with respect to prelims examination. UPSC had followed its pattern with respect to prelims examination because prelims examination is a stage of elimination with respect to the mains. And in this particular context, you have to understand that will prelims exam be ever easy? The prelims examination appears difficult because of sheer number, because of sheer competition, and because of more application oriented, not knowledge oriented. So the overall analysis of this particular question paper is, it is different. It demanded calm, composure with respect to attempting the paper. And more importantly, the subject combination was little different from the previous years. So in this particular setup, with the length of the paper, if somebody was selective, attempt of over 78 to 85 questions could have been a decent attempt when it comes to this particular paper. And with a lot of interactions, the cutoff will definitely be something above 2023 and less than 2024. And when we look at that median, the cutoff would somewhere range with respect to 80 plus or minus 2 would be the range with respect to the cutoff. Because somebody who could have done that calm application will definitely be into the list. Because at the end of the day, we have to understand that it's a competitive relative exam where we will have to perform irrespective of what is the nature of the paper. And in that particular context, understand the nature of the examination, and we will have to adapt to the nature of the examination when it comes to something like prelims examination. So hoping that you start your mains preparation, and all the very best for the prelims result as well as the mains preparation for 2026 as well as the coming years. Thank you.